What's going on, all you beautiful people out there? This is Renzi Jackson coming to you live. Just wanted to make a quick introduction for you guys today. Uh, for this video, we're going to be talking about true crime, and we're going to be reading up on a story called The Boy in the Box. So I hope you guys enjoyed just as much as I do. So let's get started. The Boy in the Box. In February 1957, a college student stumbled upon the remains of a young boy in the woods of Philadelphia and reported his gruesome discovery to the police. The boy was found badly beaten and laid to rest inside an old bassinet box. His identity was unknown. Several people came forward with information related to the case, but the police were not able to verify anyone's testimony. One woman, Martha, claimed that her abusive mother brought the boy under the roof, and he was subjected to physical and. What made the police take interest in Martha's story was her knowledge of details that had not been released to the public. She claimed that shortly before the boy was beaten to death, he ate baked beans, uh, which corroborated the autopsy. She was also claimed that he was bathed before his beating, which matched the coroner's fingers of water-pruned fingers. Through Martha's testimony seemed to match as the evidence. Her substantial history of mental illness made her an unreliable witness. Another lead came from a physic who accurately described a foster home near where the boy had been found without ever having seen it. Remington Bristow, an employee at the examiner's office following the physics directions to the foster home. Inside, he discovered a basement bassinet matching the description of the bassinet box the boy was found in. He also found a blanket similar to the one that was wrapped around the boy's body. Because there was no real incriminating evidence against the foster parents, Bristow's findings were all dismissed as well. Wow, guys! So what this story is getting deep. Wow. 62 years later, the case of the boy in the box had gone cold. Facial recognition technology has provided mock images of what the boy might have looked like alive, but no one has ever came forward to claim him. DNA and dental testings have also been attempted with no success thus far. The identity of the boy in the box remains unknown to this day. Wow, guys. Wow. Can you think, can you get like process that and get a boy and get a child, any kind of child, and you go ahead and you put them in a foster home and you're expected that they're gonna be okay until they're either parents have gotten cleaned up and are now can take care of their children, or somebody else comes along and adopts them. But why would somebody go ahead and brutally beat a child to death to where they can't even recognize him? They don't even know who this kid is. That's insane to me. Alright, guys, the next one is going to be the Icebox Murderers. Let's get this started. In 1965, Fred and Edwina Rogers were living in Houston along with their grown son Charles. The family mostly kept to themselves in their quiet neighborhood, especially given Charlie's reclusive and antisocial behavior. In fact, many neighbors were not even aware that Charles lived in the home with his parents because he left the house each day before dawn and didn't return until well after nightfall. When a family member hadn't heard from the Rogers in several days, he called the Houston police for a welfare check on his elderly aunt and uncle. The patrolmen were unable to locate Fred and Edwina, but they noticed food sitting on the dinner table. They opened the fridge and noticed numerous packages of meat neatly stacked up on top of it on one another. They noticed two human heads in the vegetable bin. Additional officers arrived in the stomach turning scene and slowly removed the packages from from the wow removed the packages full of dismembered body parts from the fridge. The remains were that of Fred and Edwina Rogers. The police deduced the Edwina had been brutally beaten and shot, while Fred suffered forceful trauma to the head. His eyes had been gouged out and his genitalia removed. The couple's innards had been flushed down the toilet. Charles was nowhere to be found. Naturally, Charles was the prime suspect in the heinous crime. However, he seemed to have vanished off the face of the earth. Through the police were able to collect circumstantial pieces of evidence against him, Charles was never found. Wow. Imagine that being that antisocial and to the point where nobody knows you're even in the house. That way you can get away with a perfect murder. And he did it and ran away. That is insane. That is insane, guys. Okay, so we're going to be looking at another one here. Sorry again, guys, if I'm not reading this in the best essential way. I'm trying my best. But let's get with the next one, and this one is called Dorothy Jane Scott. Let's get started. Early in 1980, Dorothy Jane Scott had began receiving threatening phone calls at work. She was a single mother of a toddler who didn't think much of the calls at first, until one night when the sinister voice over the phone told her to look outside. A single dead rose was lying on the windshield of her car. The stalker had gotten a hold of her number would as- associate between professionals professing his love for her and threatening bodily harm. Dorothy mentioned to several family members and her friends that the voice over the phone sounded familiar, but she couldn't quite place who it was. She never got a chance to find out. One night, at a staff meeting, Dorothy noticed one of her coworkers looked ill. She had another colleague drove the man to a nearby hospital. The doctor said that he had a nasty spider bite and needed a prescription. While the two coworkers were waiting for the prescription to be filled, Dorothy went out in the parking lot to get her car to go get her car. It was the last time she was seen alive. Her coworker testified after she did not return. They went out to meet her in the parking lot. At that moment, they saw her car speeding away, so they assumed that there was an emergency with her son. Dorothy never returned home to her son, nor did anyone hear from her again. 4 years later, her charred bones were found at a construction site, adding another layer of mystery to the case. In fact, in fact, that a set of dog bones was found right next to her remains. Though people on the internet are still discussing the case today, no one was ever convicted or held in a suspicion and made, and the mystery's caller was never found. Okay, that's crazy because having that kind of secret admirer that just is really wanting you and is to the point where they're threatening you at work, and I don't know how, I don't know what to make about this, guys. I seriously don't. That's so insane. But that concludes our podcast here today. I hope you guys well did enjoy it. Sorry again that I do the whole a lot and I stutter a lot. This is still new to me and I'm still trying to figure things out. And also with the reading, it's kind of hard to read due to the fact that my eyesight isn't so good like it used to be. But I hope you guys did enjoy and come back for another one.